Hello and welcome back to the channel. Today we're working on the Audi TT Mk1 and we're going to fit all this new loveliness to it if we can. We've got a cabin air filter. That's relatively easy to do, thankfully. Engine air filter, engine oil filter and associated oil. I may or may not show this. I've got another video showing how to do the oil and the filter. Obviously new sump plug and washer. You can't get the washers off these, thanks Audi, which means you have to buy a new nut every time. 4 new spark plugs and a fuel filter. Now you'll notice I've got 2. This came with this service kit which I bought off eBay, and unfortunately I've still got the one from the last time because this was a real pain to try and get to. You have to take a cover off underneath the car, and also it looks like the original clamp is rusted to nothing. I don't think I'll be able to get it off without cutting it off, so I've made a new clamp using some like sticky foam insulation stuff and a Jubilee clip. So that may or may not happen, but we'll see. Right, so we'll proceed with the easy one, which is the cabin filter, and I'll show you that one first. Okay, so here we are, the engine is exposed. Here's our filter. Now, for our colonial cousins, the filter will be on this side, and this will all be filled in. It won't have access to air. This is all solid. Now, in the countries that drive on the sensible side, you'll see this is all filled in. You need to remove the rubber slightly. It comes off quite easily, and you can see get your finger in there, and there's a flap, and voila, there is the filter. Now some little clips either side which you need to just manipulate, and this will come out, and then you can change the filter element. I'll get it out and then I'll rejoin. Okay, so the filter's out. It comes in like a plastic frame. It just drops straight out the bottom of that, and there's little tabby bits either side, so you need to pull back on the tabs on the box that it's in, and then it levers up. And once it's out, you can lift this off, give it a clean, get the cobwebs off it, and then swap it with the new filter, which, I mean, go look at the difference. Yeah, yak. So that goes in the bottom of this, and then the whole lot slides in and clips in at the front, and then you can put this flat back and push that back on again. Right, I've changed the filter. One thing to note, this is something you sometimes get with cheap service kit parts, is that the original filter, which is a Bosch, has got little cutouts here, here and at the side. Same on the other side. It's got a little notch out of each end and 2 little slits. These accommodate plastic parts in the frame that you put on top. And of course, the quality replacement I got didn't have any of this, and it was slightly too long as well. So disappointing, but resolvable with a pen and a Stanley knife, because this is only paper after all. So I just used the other one as this one as a template and marked and cut some slits and make sure these ends were notched out, and it fits perfectly. So bit of a pain, but that's sometimes what you get. Right, onto the spark plugs. Need to take this off. It's usually got little plastic screw things. Ours have long since been lost by, service technicians and probably me. So it's held on with plastic cable ties, which I'll snip off and then replace. But it just stops it flapping around under the bonnet. So we'll take those off first and then carry on. Now look what I found under the engine cover. That looks awfully to my eyes like a mouse nest. It has got some feathers in it, but I suspect that's a mousey. Now, thankfully, there isn't any evidence that he's been chewing on the wiring, and he's long since gone. So yeah, let's hope. The car's been on a long journey recently, so he obviously hasn't disturbed anything. But yeah, something you need to keep an eye on. Sometimes the wildlife like your car as much as you do. So these are the spark plug coils. Handily, Audi puts one of them under another piece of equipment you've got to remove. Great. So you need to pull the lead off. Now these leads are held in with a little tab. If I pull this one off, I can show you. On the actual coil there's a little tab that you can feel it with your fingernail. That pushes on, and where you can see the little red bit in there, this piece is inside the plug, and when you angle it back you can then pull the plug off. Fortunately, when they're old like this one, you angle it back and it snaps off, so we'll have to super glue that one back on. So this one, you can see it's still there, so you need to push back on this little tab here where my finger is, this tab here, push that back, and then that slides off, and then these literally just pull out, and the spark plug is down there. So one by one we need to take the lead off, pull that out, take the spark plug out, put the new plug back in, put this back in, plug that back on, and for this one we'll have to unscrew some bits, take this off. Hopefully, I think it just slides to one side, so you just undo the nut there, lift that up and do the last one. So I shall now do the spark plugs. Right, so at the moment done this one, can't really get to that one with this big thing in the way, so what you need to do is you need to undo this 10mm nut here, and then that gives you access to 3, there's one there, one here and one here, 3 hex bolts. These are H5s, and you need to take these out, and then you can take this bracket off, and then you can get to the spark plug lead, and obviously the coil pack, take that out. Then obviously it's just reversal of what you've done, and then put the box back, and then the spark plugs are pretty much done. Make sure everything's plugged in and they're all fully down, and then engine cover back on. Now I'm sure I mentioned it earlier, but the clip broke on this one. This little tab here broke off. Now I've super glued it back on, but when I push this back on it doesn't click, and I'm not sure it's in the right place. So belts and braces, I've put a cable tie through the cables and then around the front of the spark plug coil pack, just to make sure that lead doesn't pop off. I don't think it will, it's on there pretty tight, but you know, just in case. Okay, so we're finally all finished. All the plugs are changed, all these are back in, all the leads are back on. I put the bracket back in and put this box with its single nut on. So we now put the engine cover on and tie wrap it back together again, and then we can have a go at the air. In fact, I might do the air filter now while the engine cover's not in the way. Okay, so here's the air filter. It's a bit of a beast, huge great thing, and it goes in with this rubber sort of uppermost. The bottom hasn't got it on. So the air box is here. There are 2 Phillipses. You don't actually have to take these out, they're kind of captive in the top. You just unscrew them until you can lift it. There's one there and one a bit further down. And then, as I said before, it almost looks like you need to undo lots of piping. You don't need to undo anything. On either side, at the front, there are these heavy plastic bits. So there's one this side and 2 this side, and they have little hooks that go into them. So all you need to do is lift this front piece up where the screws are enough to get these unhooked, and then you can grab hold of the air filter, pull it out the side. And in the past I've said, oh, these don't look very dirty, and it's not until you kind of put it next to the new one that you can see the filth that's in there. So I mean, it's not too bad, you know, it's nice to see that the filter's doing its job. So this goes in this way up with the orange rubber at the top, and then you just need to wrangle the hooks back into these housings and do up the 2 Phillipses. Right, so it appears I fibbed to you just now. There are actually 4 of these things. So there's a tooth there, there's one about where my finger is now, and then 2 at this end. So you need to just tilt this down, get them fingers in them little housings, and then do up these screws. Right, so after all my bragging about how easy it was a real pig to get the lid back on, to get all these clips back in. So as a bit of a simplify, I took the cover off the battery, which gives you a bit more room to see what's going on. And on this inlet here, it's got 2 screws. If you can get both out, great. It means you can rotate this really easy. But what I found is, just taking this side out, the other one is a bit of a mare to get to and is really tight. It gave me a bit of wiggle room. You will have to be careful though, that this is only plastic. You could end up snapping the other side if you're not careful. So, you know, be a bit judicious with how you do that. So I just need to put that screw back in, battery cover back on, and that's the air filter done. Okay, so I've got the car jacked up now, up off the ground, and as I always say in my videos, buy some axle stands and use them. It'll save your life. You can't rely on jacks. You only need a seal to go when you're under the car, and if you're lucky, it might only crush you slightly. Worst case scenario, it could kill you. So it's jacked up. I've got it on the frame rails because you have to jack it up using the little pucks. There's little rubber pucks all around this car for you to jack it up with. So I use that to jack the car up initially and then put these axle stands on the frame rails. Now we have to get this big plastic cover off from underneath the car. Now if you watch my oil filter change video, it shows you how to do that in detail, but essentially you don't need to remove any of the connectors that are fastened to these like aerodynamic things, trim things. There's one either side. There are 2 flathead ones in the wheel arch here. You need to flap them about because mine don't work. And then on these side trim pieces you take out the last 2 and then all the ones along the bottom to the other side and take out the bottom 2. This then slides back on these little plastic fingers. The ones with the holes in that are angled towards you at the end you can still see when you put it back in. The other ones go behind to hold it in little, this bent plastic piece here, it goes behind that to hold it onto the body. So I'm going to take all those off and we'll remove this bottom panel. Right, so the bottom's off. I'll just go through this again quickly because there are some videos on YouTube that tell you to take all these screws out, which you'll just be wasting your time. You'll be taking out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and you're taking out 12 that you don't need to. So on this thing here you take these bottom 2 out, then you take all the back ones out, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, 1 there, and the bottom 2 from this thing. Now mine had 1 missing, so I think I've taken 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 Torx T20s out. That's all you need. You'll have 8 hopefully. 2, 4, and then 4 along the bottom. That's all you need. Don't take any of the others out, it's just a waste of time. Right, so under the car, this is the sump, this with this funny thing in it, and this is where the sump plug is, next to this pipe. We need to take this out, drain the oil, and I usually replace this, say, because you can't get the washer off, and you need a socket to get this off because it's surrounded by casting, so you can't really get you probably can get a spanner on, but you might end up rounding the nut off, which you don't really want. So we need to take this off, drain it into a catch can, dispose of it at the local recycling centre, put a new nut in there, and then we have the joy of changing the oil filter, which you have to be a bit of a contortionist. It's in a really awkward place. Hopefully it's still hand tight because I did it last time, and if it's not, well, it's my stupid fault. So I'll get the catch can and we'll get a socket for this, and then we'll get the oil out. Okie dokie, so it's a 19mm. Get the socket on. I've already loosened it, to be honest. And then get your catch can in place, and like I always say, kind of project in your mind that it's going to go in an arc. It's not going to drop straight down, it's going to come out, and you need to catch it in that pan as best you can. So try and keep the pressure on while you undo it. It's always the exciting bit. It's quite a long nut, this one. Bolt, sorry. I always say nut and bolt the wrong way around. Why is that? Here we go. It's getting loose now. Whoa, what a guess. Right, as you can see, that comes out quite away from where you think it's going to be, like 10 or 11 inches away. And you'll have to have a cloth handy to wipe up any spills. And you'll probably have to kind of follow the stream across a bit, because it's going to get closer and closer to the sump as it empties. And you don't want that pouring all over your driveway. Right, I know we've told this story before, but I enjoy telling it. So the oil filter on an Audi TT is here, right behind this massive cross-membrane crash bar thing. You can just about get your hand in. Good luck getting any kind of tool in there to help you. So I need to pull the oil catchy can thing up here and then try. I'm going to have to put the camera down and do this with two hands. So just twist that off, be careful, it will be full of oil. You shouldn't get that much oil coming out of the engine because it's now empty, but the filter will still be full, so when you're manoeuvring it past everything, be careful you don't cover yourself in oil. Right, so by using two hands I did get it out. When it starts to leak, it will come out here at the side of the engine. When the oil comes down, it will drip down the side and come down here. So don't pull your oil catch can further forward because you think that's where the filter is. It'll come out of there, and then obviously as you take the filter out, you'll probably have to pull the can a bit further forward because you have to try and get it out of this hole here, and some of it will tip out unfortunately, but you know, it wasn't too bad. Most of the oil has come out of that as I've got it on top of the catch can. So then you smear the new one on the top, so where that rubber ring is on the top of the filter, smear a bit of oil on that out of the can and screw it hand tight, plus maybe half a turn for luck. Don't over tighten it, and then you can we can start doing the oil fill then. Right, so the new oil filter is in with a bit of oil smeared on the rubber seal. That's all buttoned back up. We just need to put the oil in. I need to put the cover back on underneath. If you need more information, you can watch my other video about that. So fit the lower cover, drop the car back down, and then we can proceed to filling up with the oil.